Hi guys, it's Lisa from Ink Play Love, and I'm back with another card video. This time I am working with the August card kit from Scrapping for Less, and this is one of the collections. There are 4 collections in this kit. Each one comes with matching sequins, a stamp set, some pattern paper, and some other embellishments. This particular collection also has this adorable little dog bone stencil. The kit comes with 8 sheets of cardstock, and for this first one I chose to use the craft. So I've cut that out with a wonky stitches die from MFT, and I've adhered it down to my mat with some removable tape. I'm using some distress ink in the color tea dye and a blending foam to give kind of a tone-on-tone look to those dog bones, and I didn't take care to make sure that they were all the same. I kind of wanted a variation in tone on that. So I wiped off the removable tape from the back, I've set that aside, and now I am watercoloring on some Canson XL paper. I've stamped this in blackout ink from Ink on 3 because it's waterproof, and I'm using my Gonzai Tombi watercolors. I kept this first part of the watercoloring in real time so you could see how slowly I really do paint. I know sometimes I watch other card making or painting videos and I forget how much they're really sped up. For this Chihuahua image, I'm using an orangey brown color straight out of this palette. My own dog, Biscuit, is a Pomeranian Chihuahua mix, and he's kind of blonde with some orange color mixed in, so I used his coloring as the inspiration on this image. I'm going to speed this up here, and I'm pulling in more color from the palette, but I'm also rinsing out my brush and bringing in that clean wet brush to pull out color where I think I've used too much, trying to get some highlights and shadows, but I'm only using this one color for his body. For the other puppy image, I think he might be a Yorkie. I used another brown straight out of the palette, and I like the depth of this color, but it was a little too grayed out for me. It looked a little dull next to the orangey color. So I will end up warming that up later with another color. For now, I'm just doing the same thing, adding highlights and shadows by taking color on and off the paper. Here I'm taking that brown that I used for the main body of the Yorkie, and I've added some of a mustard yellow and some of that same brown that I used for the Chihuahua. You can see how much warmer it is after that, and I've used that really lightly on the face and the chest, and I'm going to add some of that to the main body too, just to warm up the entire thing. I will finally remember here in a minute to paint that little tuft on his head, and then I'll come in with a pink straight from the palette for the bow, and I'll take that same pink and add some white to it to give myself a baby pink or carnation pink for the Yorkie's nose and the ears on the Chihuahua. For the Chihuahua's nose, I just used some straight black. When I put the pink on that left ear, I got kind of a blob of color, much more than I wanted. So again, I just took a clean brush and I sopped some of that up. I added some white to the black to give myself a nice cool or neutral gray, and I gave the dogs some ground to stand on. I didn't like the look of them just floating on the watercolor paper. I set that aside to dry, and I cut out a piece of the pattern paper. This pattern paper is from Sunny Studios. From the red piece, I got some blues, purples, gray, and red in my package. Each collection from Scrapping for Less comes with a partial paper pad, so the pages you actually get are random. I wanted that paper clip to look like it was holding those pieces, and when I first adhered them, I had them too low, so I put the paper clip on first and used them as a reference, and just slid those in underneath. I'm adding a piece of score tape to the back of the paper clip so it will stay in place, and then I'll put foam tape all the way across the back of this for some dimension. That will also help hide the bump that would have been left behind by the paper clip. So I peel all the backing off that and I adhere it down to a white card base. I like to save the cardstock from all of my kits for elements on the front of the cards and put them all onto white card bases made of Neenah Solar White 110 pound cardstock. Off camera, I embossed birthday wishes and puppy dog kisses from this stamp set onto some black cardstock with white embossing powder. I used the Superfine embossing powder from Ranger. It does a really good job with these tiny sentiments. Then I'll just take my white Signo gel pen and add a few highlights. They're a little hard to see in the video, but they show up more on the pictures at the end. Next, I'm taking a few of the matching sequins. I loved the square sequins. I have nothing like this in my stash, and I thought those were really neat. So I wanted to make sure to use a few of those. So I'll spread those out on the card and then take my jewel picker and some multimedia mat to adhere those. On the last one, I got a little extra glue, so I just dabbed that up with my finger and put it down. And that's it for card number 1. Here are some still photos of that card. I got started with my next card from this collection and I had a little visitor. This is Charlie. And I put him down from my desk and he decided he wanted to come right back. So I had to have my son lure him away with some kitty treats. For this card, I'm Copic coloring the images instead of watercoloring them. So I've stamped them onto some Neenah Solar White 80 pound and used Memento Tuxedo black ink for these. I put the colors up at the top of the screen there for a minute because I didn't realize until I'd finished this part that the glare was making the numbers on the caps invisible. So I started with my lightest color, went to the 2 medium colors and put in just my darkest shadows with the darkest, which is E37. I didn't want to use much of that. I wanted to stick with those mid-tone browns. And I kept the E30, which was my lightest color, just for the highlight. Then I took some neutral grays for this Yorkie and colored in the entire image. I will only use 2 colors on the chest, the little puff of hair at the top, and the mouth, and I will use all 4 colors on the rest of it to give it a little bit of a deeper gray. I'm going to turn up the music while I finish coloring this little guy, and I'll be back when this is finished. I pulled out a couple of different pinks for the noses and the ears, as well as the cheeks on both of these guys. I'm using R20 and R22 for the ears and noses, and just a straight RV09 for that little bow. There wasn't really enough room to add dimension. And then I just went back in with my lightest color to blend out the cheeks a little bit. Again, I'm using my white pen for some highlights. I just added highlights to the eyes and some polka dots to the bow. I decided I didn't really like the nose on the Chihuahua pink, so I went back over that with my N10 marker. For this card, I'm using one of the sketches provided by Scrapping for Less. Every kit comes with 4 sketches to give you some inspiration. So I've pre-cut all of those pieces and I'm just adhering those together now. I absolutely love Christy Marcotte's videos, and she uses a lot of card sketches, adding layers to give some more of a break between the pattern papers. I just love that look, so I decided to add some black cardstock to the back of each of these patterns. I adhered that square piece to the front of this card with some temporary tape just so I could use it to get the rectangles in the right place. I'll get those lined up and then I'll take that square off again. I'm going to use some fun foam to pop that up. I cut my fun foam, I set it just inside the area I'm working with, and I use the front of that as a template so that my fun foam ends up just smaller than the piece I'm working with. I'll adhere that to the middle, and then I will take the little puppies that I fussy cut out earlier and adhere those with some Tombow Mono Multi-Glue. I like the liquid glue for adding the images, so I have a minute to move them around and get them exactly where I want them. I've again embossed birthday wishes on a small strip of black cardstock, and I'm just going to tuck that in under the popped up square. Then I'll take this piece and add it to another one of my white card bases. I'm using that same blackout ink from Ink-On 3 to stamp inside, but I'll adhere the back of that card base down to my mat with some removable tape so it stays in place while I'm stamping. So now this card also reads Birthday Wishes and Puppy Dog Kisses. I really liked the variety of sequins that came with this collection. These little round ones almost remind me of buttons. They have 3 little concentric circles, so they have some texture to them. So I put those all over the place and finally realized that I was out of frame, so I tried to fix that. I'm just putting 3 of those little iridescent white ones and 2 of the pinkish purplish ones on the card, and I called that finished. Thank you very much for watching today, and I will be back soon with a video for each of the other 3 collections from this kit. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, and see you soon.